Lori.
I'm Grace.
And we're so glad that you decided to tune in again this week. In the last episode, I mentioned that I was going to discuss this book, Don't Be Trashy by Tara McKenna. There's so much to unpack in this that I thought it would be better to save it for a full episode. So we'll discuss it in the next episode. And I'm looking forward to that. But for this episode, I'm going to turn it over to Grace, who's going to take the lead on our discussion today.
Okay, so thank you, Lori. I thought that for today's podcast episode that we talk about money.
Yay!
Because I feel like, it's talking about money. It seems to me it's probably one of those topics where it's kind of considered taboo still. It's up there with like religion, politics, and sex. Those are kind of topics that people say you shouldn't really talk about it, right? But I think that may be one of the problems, the lack of open discussion about money, because I think a lot of us are in situations where we think that we can be a bit better off financially. I know that I want to live a more abundant life, a more financially free life. I think probably all of us want that, right? Who doesn't want financial freedom? But I think a lot of the things that might be hindering us from attracting abundance into our lives is our negative relationships with money. And, I never thought about money in terms of in a relational way. But when I read this book here by Jen Sincero, You Are a Badass at Making Money, Master the Mindset of Wealth. So I read this, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and it was one of my top reads, and I really enjoyed it. And Jen Sincero has a great personality. And I think you also mentioned, Lori, that you read it as well, right?
I did read it. After you read it, I read it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
I did. I looked at your recommendation. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So, yeah, it's the first time that I thought about money and myself, like in a relational way. And it's thanks to this book. I never really thought about money at all, or if I did, it was just I would, this book made me think about, okay, what are my thoughts about money? What are my feelings about money? And how is it manifesting in my life? So definitely my beliefs about money comes from how I was raised, my environment, right? And I didn't grow up poor, at least as a child. We were never on welfare or anything. I was raised by a single mom, but we always had food on the table, and we were never on welfare or anything. But I remember things, and I think that I was a sensitive child. Probably most kids are sensitive. We're like sponges, right?
Yeah.
So, I remember some incidents, even now, from childhood. Like there were some incidents where, I could tell that my mom was, I don't know, she was worried about money. And as a child, I absorbed that, right? So I absorbed the belief that money is, it induces anxiety. It's something that's very stressful, right? And so I carried those kinds of beliefs with me into adulthood. So present day, here I am, right? And yeah, so, and I also think about, okay, so how has my negative beliefs about money, it's because I would watch my mom work so hard, right? And it's like the proportion between the effort or the labor and the outcome didn't seem to match. But that, and that was my belief. You work hard for money. And even then you don't really get a lot,
you deserve,
right?
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So again, so all these beliefs and attitudes about money, I think, contributed to how I navigated, my life journey, and the opportunities that I pursued and didn't pursue. So it also comes down to, my own self-esteem, or my thinking about my own self-worth, because there were, I would never go for jobs
Mm-hmm.
with like high like, high income
Mm-hmm.
potential. So I kind of settled for,
Even if you
just,
were qualified, even if
I
you
never
were,
thought I was qualified though.
oh, okay.
And that, and but you know what, like that also, I thought about that as well, and I thought, this is kind of a tangent, but in terms of going for particular jobs, even if
Mhm.
maybe you don't fit all the criteria in the job
Mhm.
description,
And you never do. You never
I
do.
I read a statistic where it was like a study between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And men, regardless of whether they meet all the criteria in a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
job description,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time they go for it anyway.
Right.
And women tend to not do that.
But
And it's,
think of it, Grace, sorry. If you
yeah,
met all the criteria, where would there be opportunity for growth? If you can say, oh yeah, I know how to do that, 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 then that job is probably under, it isn't going to present any challenges, right? Because you
oh,
know
that's a good point.
already how to do everything. So,
But what if if it were like a senior position? So for
mhm,
example, like for the most part, like I've never been in a supervisory role, for example,
mhm,
during my career as a 9 to 5er.
mhm,
Um, but I never really went for those positions, right?
because you didn't
Where
have supervise.
there
Oh,
was an increased income potential,
okay.
because I felt like I couldn't handle it.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, but going back to the male versus female, like going after jobs, like I know a friend where, yeah, he's a guy, he's a freelance writer, and he wrote for a client,
Mm-hmm.
and the client also needed a new website.
Okay.
And so the client approached my friend and said, "Oh, could you,
Yeah.
build
Yeah.
a website for me?" Even though my
Yeah.
friend is not a website developer. But my friend, he was like, "Sure." You see the difference in attitude? It's
Okay.
like his attitude was like, "I'll figure it out as I go
Right.
along."
Right.
With me, it's like, no, no. It's like I if I don't have any experience or skills presently,
Mm-hmm.
I won't even go for
Okay.
an opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. For me, I guess it would depend on what it was, on what it was that I didn't have or thought that I didn't have. It would depend, right? I mean, if it's a managerial position and they say, oh, 5 years experience managing people, and you don't have that, then I could see maybe not applying for that one, because they usually they want management experience or
Yes.
experience, right? Supervising someone. So I could see maybe not applying for that one. But if it's something like a, a responsibility, that if you can see that you have something similar, a similar experience where you can
Verbal.
say, okay, I don't have that exactly, but I did this, and I think it's a transferable skill. So I should be able to do this, that type of thing. Then
Mm-hmm.
I would go for it. But yeah, I understand your point about the difference between men and women
Yeah.
and what they're prepared to, go after.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it
that
is
was
interesting. Yeah.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
So okay. So yeah. So that I would say that I have an unhealthy relationship with money currently. It's a pretty
Really?
negative
Still?
relationship.
I
I'm
thought,
trying to improve it. That's why I'm reading books
yeah.
like this.
Okay.
And yeah, just also trying to learn about the law of attraction, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
want to learn to attract money into my life. But
Mhm.
a lot of that has to do with also loving yourself. So it's also about, believing that you are worthy, that
Mhm.
you are worthy of being abundant, living an
Mhm.
abundant life. And that's
Mhm.
one of the blocks,
Mhm.
right? That even Jen Sincero mentions this. It's like
Mhm.
it's not just about saying the words, okay, saying all those money mantras. You have to really believe it. And a lot of that has to do with also, you need to believe that you are worth
And I think with
abundance.
law, I think with law of attraction, they even say you have to feel it.
That's the most important.
Yeah,
Your
even more
feeling,
important than the
your
thought is
feeling.
like you actually have to
Exactly.
feel abundant, feel excited, feel like you're attracting it,
As
feel
if
like
you
it's
already
already
have the money
happened.
or whatever you want.
Yes, yes,
It's the most important, because
yes,
I recently finished this book as well, Ask and It Is Given, and they talk about the importance of your feelings. That is your emotional guidance system. Like that's how you know if you're blocking the energy or the vibrational frequency,
right,
or if you're blocking it. So are you allowing abundance to come into your life, or are you blocking it with these resistant thoughts?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So if you have a negative relationship with money, and you always feel stress or dread, like when you receive your credit card statement in the mail,
Yeah, yeah.
I often do. I don't know. How do you feel? Like,
I'm trying to change. Yeah, I mean, I've had those thoughts too, but I have shifted as a result of reading and
yeah,
books like you've just mentioned. And I'm trying to say, oh, it's a bill. Okay, I'll just pay it,
yeah,
and just pay it and don't put too much energy into it. Just like, oh, there's a bill. Of course, I don't get them in the mail. I mean, they're online, right? Oh, there's a bill. Oh, I'll just pay it. And the sooner I pay it, it's out of my, it's, oh, okay, I paid it. It's out of my mind and I
uh-huh.
don't dwell on it anymore. So that's how I'm trying to deal with that. Another thing I do is, and I don't know, well, I do this EFT tapping.
Okay, I've heard of that.
EFT is emotional freedom technique, and you tap on, I guess they're acupressure points
Okay,
here,
yes.
here,
Uh-huh. And here, right?
apparently, and here, yeah, and apparently we hold in negative and, well, most negative and positive thoughts, but it's the negative thoughts we want to release, but we hold them in our body. So
Hmm.
by tapping on them and saying certain statements, you help release them.
Yeah.
And then you implant new thoughts like, I'm a money magnet. I'm wealthy.
Well, I like
Money
that.
comes to me easily. Yeah. So I try and do that. I was doing it every day, but recently I've probably slacked off and I do it maybe every other day or every third day. And the one I like is by Margaret Lynch. She's on YouTube. I'm gonna
Okay.
I'll add it to our podcast
Description.
YouTube description.
Okay, good.
The one that I watch all the time, which is uh attracting $50,000. She
Okay,
just
cool.
chooses that amount arbitrarily, but that one, and it really makes you feel positive about money.
Uh-huh.
You'll feel very positive about money after watching and doing the tapping with her. I'm sure of
Okay.
it.
Doing the tapping and
Yeah.
the mantras.
So
Doing the
yeah,
tapping.
so I do that, and I know for some people out there, they're gonna be like, what? Right? But
Yeah,
it
with the tapping?
it does work. It does, yeah, with the tapping. It
Uh-huh.
does work,
Yeah.
or at least it works for me. And there's a couple of them I do, like if I have more time. Brad Yates is another one that I follow. Again, excuse me. I'll put the link to the YouTube, to their YouTube videos in our description. But I, you know what? When I tap like that, sometimes things happen. Sometimes I receive, work like that day.
Oh, oh
Or
my goodness.
I've been winning things, you know. I've won money, I've won other things. And
Because like ever since you started the tapping?
well, there's another thing I do as well, and that is I write my goals down every day. Although again, I've slacked off on that. I'm writing them down maybe every third day. But before, for a year, I was writing my goals down every day. And it could be anything. Well, I wanted to lose weight. So
Mhm,
I was writing, and you write it like, I'm so grateful that this has already happened. So I'm
mhm.
so grateful that I'm a size 8, something like that. I wrote that down
Okay.
for a year.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that, um, you know, I have 6 new clients for my business. I'm so grateful that, you know, I'm going on vacation this summer with my family, things like that. When I started writing them down, I wrote them down for a year, and I had about 14 or 15 goals, and about 10 of them manifested, not all at once. It was over, over
Mhm.
8 or 9 or 10 months. But when I
Yeah.
look back at my list after about 10 months, I was like checking things off. And I was amazed that I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, that happened, that happened, that happened. I can write new
Okay.
goals because these have already happened. And it was pretty, it was pretty phenomenal. Um, and I've never had that kind of luck with writing New Year's resolutions because
Yeah,
I
I
find,
didn't never make resolutions.
no, and I do, or I did. But the problem with those is that you write them once a year, and then, you might look at them or revisit them in 3 or 4 months. But you go, oh yeah, I wrote that resolution down. You completely forget it or whatever. So I think the act of writing your goals down every day, and this isn't my idea, by the way, this is an idea I've borrowed from a couple
Oh,
of
there's
books
so
I
many of
read.
them that talk about scripting.
Right.
Because I'm doing
So
that as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're
like
writing it in present tense. You're writing it as though you
it's
already
already,
have these things in
yes.
your life.
So you
Yeah.
say, I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that this
And
has happened.
gratitude is huge. Gratitude is huge. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
yes.
so important. Yeah.
So I, that's one thing I do recommend just from because it worked for me. So those are
Yeah.
the two things that have helped kind of changed my circumstances a bit.
Hmm.
So as
Okay.
well
Yeah.
as
So
changing
mine
my
do
thoughts about money, like you, I remember my grandmother, she used to say, I wrote these notes down while you were talking, money doesn't grow on trees. I
Yes,
remember her saying
exactly.
that when I was young. And then
Yeah.
another one she said a lot was, money is the root of all evil.
Oh my
She said that a
goodness.
lot.
Yes.
And I'm like, do I have those thoughts? And I think
Hmm.
I did have the second one for the
The root of
longest
all
time.
evil. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I did. Um,
I think a lot of us do.
yeah, I don't believe I have it now, but I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure I had that in my consciousness for many years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting what we take from the previous generations, and we need to be really aware of what our own beliefs truly are, and not
Exactly.
borrowing somebody else's that
Yeah.
don't work
But
for us anyway. They don't work for us, right?
it doesn't, no. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's all fear-based, right? It's
Yeah,
fear-based.
yeah.
It's a vicious cycle because it's not, our guardians when we were growing up, they didn't know either. It's not like they were doing this to us on purpose. It's because they also were raised by people who probably thought those things, right?
Or their experience, like my grandmother grew up in the Depression, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So of course she would have this type of a mindset. But it's like it's time to cut that tie and
It's
create
hard
your
though, yeah.
own. It is hard, but I think
Break the cycle.
when you become conscious of it, it's less hard, right? You're
Well,
conscious,
it's
oh,
the
that's
first
not
step,
even
yeah.
my, yeah. So anyway, but those are the two things that I do, and I do recommend them both, and keep an open mind because they worked for me. I guess I should just say they worked for me. And I hope they work for other people as well.
Well, I think one of the challenges, and I understand with the law of attraction, the skepticism surrounding it. But again, when I read this book, Ask and It Is Given, there are just only 3 steps. All you have to do, all you do is ask. So that's what you've been doing with your goals. That was your asking. You're asking the universe. The second step is up to the universe. So once you ask, it's already on its way to you. Your desires are already on its way to you.
Right.
And the third step is, it's up to you to allow what you ask for into your life, or are you resisting it?
Right.
And how you know if you're allowing or resisting that desire is through your feelings. How are you feeling?
Yes.
So that's why, like it helps to, just come up with good feeling thoughts, because, our thoughts contribute to how we feel.
Yes.
And then when we feel better, our vibration
is higher.
goes up,
yes.
And it matches what we want. Yeah.
Yes.
So
and I think the third step is the hardest. It's the allowing.
That's why a lot of people are like, you know what? Oh, but I do want money. But do you really? Like,
yes.
Maybe what you're focusing on, because what Jen Sincero also says, and also, Esther and Jerry Hicks, maybe you're saying it consciously. Yes, I desire money, but subconsciously, you don't want it. What you're focusing on is what you don't have. So you're saying you want money, but you're actually focusing on the fact that you don't have money.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So it's where you put your attention.
Right.
But a lot, so try to be aware, of what your beliefs truly are about money.
And we also have these fears, that maybe if we have more money, our friends won't like us, or our family won't.
Money, that's another thing too, because money, like that's a Cyndi Lauper song, I think. Money changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
That's also a consideration as well. Like, what will happen? What will our lives look like when we do attract all this money, and it's a really big change? How are the people around us going to respond? Right?
Yeah. So you could have some fears around that. You could be on one level saying, oh no, I want to attract this abundance, and I want a better life, and I want to live more freely, whatever. But then inside, you might have this fear about, well, if I attract this money, what are my friends going to think, right? And that could be the one thing that's holding you back, or that's holding
that's fear.
The goodness from coming to you. So it's really, I guess journaling and meditation are methods to bring these thoughts to the surface, so that we can be aware of them and then get rid of them.
So practicing, just trying to find a good feeling thought. For me, I love dogs. Okay.
So I love dogs. I love dogs too.
You know how much I love dogs.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is I also visualize.
Okay.
So that's how I try to attract a better feeling thought. If I'm feeling anxious or sad, whatever, I just close my eyes and try to visualize, like puppies.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I walk on the street or whatever and I see a dog, I always smile. So I already know what makes me feel good.
Right.
So you try to find what feels good to you, what makes you smile, and you just kind of hold on to that thought.
I love dogs too, so that would work for me.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I literally envision myself sometimes like I'm holding a puppy. And you eventually, like, your imagination is incredible, right? Because it feels real. It's in your mind, but it feels real. And that's why you get your emotions going, right? And so I think about a puppy, holding a puppy, and you know how dogs, they just look at you with love, right?
Yes.
And it feels so good, and then it changes how you feel, right? And you're just filled with love, right?
Yes.
Even though I'm not actually holding a puppy, it's in my mind, and
Right.
so I feel it.
Right.
So that's what I try to do. I think of puppies. I love imagining turquoise waters, like being on a
Oh,
white sand
nice.
beach, turquoise water.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think of that. So sometimes I'm also, yeah, I'm on a beach chair
With a puppy.
holding a puppy, looking out at
Yeah.
turquoise water,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to collect all these good feeling thoughts
Yes.
so that I can raise my vibrational
Yes.
frequency, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you find, and this is for me key, if I'm rested, everything, like if I'm well rested, everything
Uh-huh.
just seems to fall into place. When I'm tired, that's when I can kind of veer into the less
That makes
high
sense.
vibration. But when I'm
Mhm.
rested, things are so much easier, and it's easy to be in a high vibration. Do you
That's
notice
why,
that?
yeah, sleep is so important. That's
Mm-hmm.
why sleep is so important. I'm
Mm-hmm.
often, yeah, tired, but I think a lot of that has to do with my energy.
Okay.
Uh, because, I am a sensitive person, so
Okay.
and that's why I have to be careful about what I absorb. So in terms of
Right.
social media, emails, the news, that's why
Right.
I don't watch the news or
Okay.
try not to watch it because
Okay.
I absorb it
Okay.
and it pulls down my energy.
I think a lot of us are like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
and we're
lot of
not
us are like that.
I didn't realize that. I didn't until recently, until I discovered this writing coach, and she talks about energy and stuff like that and for sensitive people, right?
Okay.
And it's specific to also some personality types.
Okay.
And so I always thought, okay, well, yeah, I knew, like I was depressed and stuff like that. So I always
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, maybe it's just my depression, right? Because
Okay.
with my depression, it's chronic and it's just low grade, but
Mm-hmm.
like it I thought it was mainly due to that,
Okay.
why my energy was so low. But now I realize that maybe it's also my personality type. And because, yes, I'm sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm absorbing the
Mm-hmm.
negative energy and it's affecting, it's just making my low energy even worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
So
definitely have to watch or pay attention
what
to
I
what we
consume,
watch and what we read and who we hang out with and
it's
whatever.
so important.
Yeah, it is for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm interested to hear what our viewers think about money. Um, and it would be great if
Yeah.
you want to put it in the comments section. And has anybody tried EFT tapping? I'm curious to hear about that. Does
I
anybody
did
else?
try it
Oh, sorry.
actually.
You did.
I did
Okay.
try it. Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, no, I liked it. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
Marie
Okay.
Forleo, do you know Marie Forleo? She
The
wrote
name
a
rings a bell.
self-help book, Everything is Figure Outable.
Okay. The name
If
rings
you
a
saw a
bell.
picture of her, maybe you will know her because she's on YouTube and she's one
Okay.
of those gurus.
Marie Forleo.
But yeah, she did an episode where they did some tapping
Okay.
and I tried it. Yeah, so tapping.
Okay.
I think there's potential there. I do believe it. And like lymph nodes, like draining your lymph nodes.
Yes. Yes. Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think unless you have anything more to add, I think we'll wrap up today's episode. We don't want to ramble on too long. And next week, as I said, our next episode, I'll be discussing Don't Be Trashy. So
Okay.
yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.